When Mel returned to his land, strangers were already waiting beside the road. Imagine driving back toward your own property, deep in the forest near Ellensburg, Washington, only to find the road suddenly blocked. Floodlights cutting through the trees, vehicles you don't recognize, men standing near barriers where there'd never been barriers before, and somewhere beyond them, a dark circular hole in the ground. According to the story later told on late night radio, that was the moment Mel Waters realized something had changed, because for years, the hole had supposedly existed in silence, hidden in the wilderness, known mostly by locals, whispered about more than discussed openly. Mel would later describe it as perfectly circular, roughly 9 feet across, and impossibly deep. Not a mine shaft, not an oil well, just a hole. The story first reached a national audience in 1997 during calls to Art Bell on Coast to Coast AM. At the time, millions of listeners tuned into the program late at night to hear stories involving UFOs, unexplained encounters, government secrets, and paranormal mysteries. But Mel's story felt unusually vivid because he didn't describe the hole like a storyteller. He described it like a man trying to explain something he genuinely could not understand. According to Mel, people in the area had thrown objects into the pit for decades. Old refrigerators, broken televisions, scrap metal, garbage, even dead animals. Yet nobody supposedly ever heard anything hit the bottom. And then came the part that disturbed listeners most. Mel claimed dogs refused to go near the hole. Even when pulled on leashes, they allegedly panicked near the edge and tried to retreat. Some later retellings added that birds avoided flying directly over the area altogether. Whether true or not, the imagery stayed with people, a silent hole in the forest that animals instinctively feared. Mel also claimed he attempted to measure the depth himself. Fishing line was reportedly lowered hundreds of feet into the darkness, then thousands. In later broadcasts and online retellings, the estimated depth became even more extreme. Some versions claimed tens of thousands of feet, but according to the story, no matter how much line descended into the hole, nothing ever seemed to reach the bottom. And the deeper the broadcasts went, the stranger the claims became. One of the most controversial stories involved the dead dog. According to later accounts connected to the broadcasts, the dog that had supposedly been thrown into the hole was later seen alive again by its owner. The claim was impossible to verify, but once it entered the mythology surrounding Mel's hole, it transformed the story from a strange geological mystery into something far darker and far more unsettling. Listeners began wondering whether the hole was more than deep. Some theorized it could be connected to magnetic anomalies. Others speculated about underground tunnels, military experiments, hidden bases, or even dimensional phenomena. Online paranormal communities later connected the story to UFO theories and alleged gateways or portals. And then came the claims involving the land itself. Mel alleged that after his radio appearances gained attention, access to the area suddenly changed. Roads were reportedly blocked. Armed personnel allegedly appeared near the site. Scientific equipment was supposedly brought into the forest. According to Mel, he was no longer allowed near the location. And for many listeners, that was the moment the story stopped feeling like a campfire tale and started feeling like something else entirely. Because whether people believed him or not, the details kept spreading. People searched maps near Ellensburg looking for possible locations. Researchers examined satellite images. Paranormal investigators traveled into remote areas trying to identify where the hole might have been. Some claimed they found strange terrain features. Others believed the entire story was an elaborate myth, born from the golden age of paranormal radio. But the mystery only deepened, because even years later, listeners kept replaying the broadcasts. Forums continued debating the details. New generations discovered the recordings online. And one question refused to disappear. Why did this particular story stay alive when so many others faded away? Maybe it was the image of that dark opening in the woods. Maybe it was the thought of something so deep that sound itself never returned. Or maybe it was the unsettling possibility that somewhere between folklore, performance, memory, and mystery, there was still a small piece of truth hidden underneath it all. And somewhere out there, in the forest near Ellensburg, people still search for the whole.